Yes, thank you. Welcome everyone to our session, our virtual tour on energy efficient buildings in Vienna. In this tour, we're going to learn how the city of Vienna is creating affordable and sustainable living spaces with highly efficient residential buildings powered by renewable energy. Our tour guide or our expert is Mr. Thomas Kreitmeier. He is an expert in energy efficiency and energy technologies, and he works with the city of Vienna in the municipal department of energy planning. And this department manages the coordination of Vienna's energy programs, and they also manage the programs themselves. And they also work on the strategic work on the decarbonization of cities. Throughout the tour, if you have any questions, please type them down on the chat. I'll keep track of them. And then at the end of the session of the tour, we'll have a question and answer session where Mr. Thomas can answer all of your questions. With that being said, I welcome Mr. Thomas. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Sylvia. Thank you for your nice opening words. So, dear people, I'm pleased to be able to tell you something about the MGG-22 residential building with its highly innovative in terms of its energy supply. As Sylvia has already mentioned, my name is Thomas Kreitmeier. I work for the Energy Planning Department of the City of Vienna. And here in my work, I am focusing on innovative building energy supply, energy solutions. And therefore, I'm now hoping that you see a full screen. And I will walk you, and I will walk you through my presentation. So, first off, cities play a crucial role for the climate goals. Only 2% of the Earth's buildable surface is consumed by cities, but already today, more than 50% of the world's population live in these dense areas. And the trend is rising. Cities are responsible for almost 75% of energy-related emissions. Yet cities offer a great potential to achieve major impacts through simple measures. For example, a small change to the building code in Vienna has an immediate impact on over 1 million square meters, 1 million built square meters of living space per year. So that's why cities are very, very important, because little measures can have big impacts for our climate and our environment. Here you can see a part of the Viennese energy flow chart, and I won't get you confused with all the numbers. What I want to point out here is the energy flow chart shows where energy comes from, where it is converted into what form of energy. But what I want to focus you on is that more than 1/3 of Vienna's energy is used for space heating. So it's used for buildings. If you consider that buildings also need electricity and process heat, almost half of the Viennese energy demand is caused by buildings. So that's why it's really, really crucial to have very efficient buildings. And also very important for me, for my daily work, is, as you can see here, from the climatological data of the last 65 years from Vienna, the number of summer days and hot days is increasing, summer days and hot days, whereas the number of frosty days is decreasing. Can you see my mouse?
I can see it.
Okay,
Mhm.
here the frosty days are decreasing. So it's getting hotter. It's getting hotter in Vienna, and accordingly, buildings today must not only be designed for efficient heating, but also for sustainable cooling. That's really necessary to keep that in mind, because the past decades we were only focusing uh, on efficient heating and more efficient heating. So I will now give you a quick overview of the evolution of uh, energy supply of the energy supply of buildings in Vienna. In the past, buildings were constructed and then connected with expansive central energy infrastructure, may it be uh, gas or may it be district heating or whatever. Central and rather expansive energy infrastructure. Renewable energies did not really play a role back then, or in dense urban areas back then, because the big infrastructure was the thing you go for if you have to energy to supply buildings with energy. Buildings back then were typically only consumers. Nowadays, it, the planning process uh, changed. So first, you have to build very efficient building envelopes, and then we look at which internal waste heat can be reused, and finally we figure out uh, what potentials from the sun, from geothermal energy, from groundwater, and ambient heat can be used for heating the buildings. And so buildings are no longer just consumers, but also producers. And the energy planning tomorrow may look like this, that based on the two slides before, also storage options are now being analyzed and integrated in order to shift momentary surpluses from day to night, or maybe also from summer to winter. In this way, the buildings also become important storage facilities for renewable energies and grid service providers to relieve the electricity grid, because as we already can see, the electricity is the energy form of the future, and also heating is nowadays and will in future be more or less it will be based on electricity, because heat pumps need electricity as primary energy source. So having said that, I would now like to get on board with a housing project, with the housing project that I'm going to tell you about today, that already exceeds the 2050 targets for buildings. The vision was to create a project that offers a maximum of comfort all year round, that is a living environment and not only um, cheap living space, that is powered by renewable energies, and that is also affordable. And with this vision, a housing complex, an apartment complex, has been designed that has about 160 apartments, that is heated and cooled by the ceilings, that is supplied by over 90% of renewable energies on site, and that has energy costs lower than those of conventionally supplied buildings that even have no cooling in summer. So welcome to MGG-22, the residential building of the future. With this graphic, I would like to explain the energy concept of MGG-22. It consists basically of four main components. The concrete core activated building, a heat pump, about 30 geothermal probes for heating and cooling, and wind power from the surrounding area to Vienna. The central element of the energy system is the heat pump. The heat pump, or in summer rather just the heat exchanger of the heat pump. Depending on the season, these components can heat the building from the ground, or in reverse mode can feed the building's excess heat back into the ground. So the heat pump can heat in both directions. The building or the floor ceilings, which in this apartment complex have about 7,500 tons of steel reinforced concrete, are kept at about 23 degrees Celsius all year round. And the drive power of the heat pump, as I mentioned before, comes from wind power in real time. Now often the question comes up: what is used for heating when there is not enough wind power, when there is not enough renewable energy to drive the heat pump? And as this diagram shows, this diagram of a measurement during a typical Viennese winter week, this diagram shows that the comfort temperature of a concrete core activated building can be maintained for almost a week here, 6 days, without the need for active heating. And this means that the heating system, or the heat pump, can always be operated when there is enough wind power on the grid, or enough renewable energy, whatever renewable electricity should be used for the building. But it can maintain 6 days without active heating, and in reverse, in summer it can maintain its comfort temperature for almost a week without active cooling. And this is due to the 7,500 tons of thermally activated concrete in this building, which is a huge storage. So I'm now going to show you some photos and impressions of the housing complex, and also I will try to start some videos I integrated into the presentation to give you an impression of how this project looks like. Here you can see a very first architectural model of the apartment complex. It's already visible that the residential complex is oriented around several central communal open spaces. Here you have 4 communal open spaces, 1 here, 2, 3, and 4. which were a central, a basic idea for this project in order to create a community in the neighborhood, to make the neighbors meet. Yeah, here you can see me visiting the construction site after the foundations of the underground parking garage have been built. Here is the underground parking garage, and this will be this will be the ground floor for the apartments. With some, or rather with a lot of imagination, you can already guess the innovative character of the residential complex. In this picture, you can see the red plastic tubes, the red plastic pipes that that are integrated into the concrete ceilings. You can also see the reinforcement, the steel reinforcement mats on which the plastic pipes on which the plastic pipes are installed. So none of this is rocket science. And in my opinion, for information, for your information, almost 95% of Viennese buildings are built with concrete ceilings or floors, concrete ceilings between the floors, and it's rather cheap to install these plastic pipes, and then you already have a heating system, cooling system, a very cheap heating and cooling system, very efficient system, and you have the whole building activated as a thermal storage. And every building that does not install concrete core activation or thermal activation of building structure is a lost storage potential for our energy revolution. Here, this picture shows the tip of a backfilled geothermal probe sticking out of the ground, which now, of course, are invisible because there are about 1 to 2 meters more ground up to the level of the ground floor of the buildings. An overview of the construction site from the neighborhood, from the neighboring apartment complex. As you can see, it's not that big. We will also see that it's not that big with the videos I'm going to show you. Here you have another picture where you can see the prepared floor, the prepared ceiling of the ground floor with the heat pipes, the red heat pipes. And this is very interesting. This picture is very interesting for me because here you can see what will later become a shared inner courtyard with a children's playground, which might be hard to imagine if you only see this picture, but this is the before picture and this is the now picture, the then picture. Here you can see the windows, the door that you can see here, window, door, the playground for babies and little children, and how a really nice atmosphere is created with the trees and the chairs and tables. So some impressions of the finished apartment complex. What I forgot to mention is another special idea of the project was to plant numerous eatable plants, fruits and herbs that can be used by the residents. And there are several illustrations in the apartment complex that explain when or what plants can be used and when they can be eaten. For example, yeah, here you have the illustration of what and when it can be used. This is a small display board that explains the energy system of the project, and I think, yeah, we're now jumping to some videos I prepared. The first video is the video of a horse walking through the apartment complex. A horse that used to live on this construction site. Before it was a construction site, there was a small horse ranch. So I try to start this YouTube video. Here you can see Joy, the horse that used to live on this area before the buildings were built, and that now lives next to the apartment complex in a new ranch. Behind the horse, you can see what later will be what now already is a communal garden where we can grow vegetables and fruits and beds. This video was taken a few months after the apartment complex was finished, so all the plans are rather small. I'm going to show you another video that I just took this morning, and you will see that all the plants that are very small here are now rather big.
Nachbarschaft ist, das Klima in diesem Haus dürfte immer gut sein. In der Mühlengrundgasse im 22. Bezirk entsteht nämlich ein Gebäude mit völlig neuem Energiekonzept. Per überschüssiger Windkraft wird dort von der Decke gekühlt und geheizt. Wie das genau funktioniert und wie viel sich die künftigen Mieter dabei sparen, Edeltraud Günther und Hubert Kiekinger berichten.
Hier wird noch fleißig gebaut. In der Mühlgrundgasse im 22. Bezirk entstehen derzeit rund 160 Wohnungen. Besonders an diesem Objekt ist die Beheizung und Kühlung mittels sogenannter thermischer Bauteilaktivierung.
Wir heizen und kühlen über die Decke über ein Rohrsystem. Das heißt, in den Zwischendecken ist jeweils eine Lage Rohr eingebaut, welche im Winter über eine Wärmepumpe mit Erdwärmenutzung mit Wärme versorgt wird, und im Sommer wird dieses Erdsondenfeld für die Kühlung der Bauteile herangezogen.
Der Strom für die Wärmepumpe wird aus erneuerbarer Energie gewonnen.
Und zwar wird Windstromenergie verwendet, und zwar Überschussenergie, die sonst am Markt keinen Platz finden würde. Diese Windenergie nehmen wir an. Die Wärmepumpen schalten in erster Linie nur dann ein, wenn Windspitzen vorhanden sind.
Die Energiekosten für die zukünftigen Mieterinnen und Mieter sind erstaunlich gering.
Wir reden hier je nach Größenordnung der Wohnung zwischen 200 und 300 Euro für Heizen, Kühlen und Warmwasser pro Jahr.
Die Stadt Wien fördert das Bauvorhaben. In Zukunft sollen Projekte wie dieses mehr werden.
Wir haben das Thema, dass es in der Stadt immer heißer wird, und mit dieser Technologie können wir angenehmen, temperierten Wohnraum bieten, und wir stellen auch unsere Förderung jetzt genau auf solche Projekte ab.
Es gibt schon zahlreiche Voranmeldungen für die Wohnungen in der Mühlgrundgasse. Nächstes Jahr sollen die Bauarbeiten abgeschlossen sein.
An idea of the construction site. This is the mastermind behind the energy concept, Mr. Kuster, who had the idea for this project, who works with concrete core activation for years and built several buildings also in very dense populated areas that are only supplied with renewable energies and do not use fossil fuels or whatever. And here you can see another thing that was very important for the project, that the windows are room high in order to have enough daylight. And as you can see, there are no radiators or conventional heating system or whatever, because the heating and cooling system is already integrated into the ceiling and is therefore invisible in the final built apartment. So now I'm trying to share my last video. And then I jump right back to the presentation because I have some slides left for you. I hope we're back to the presentation. And you can see some impressions of the inside of the technical room. Fortunately, very low light. But the thing on the left side, this is the heat pump. It has the size of, it's even smaller than a typical fridge. Here you have a store for the heating water and the store for the drinking water, and all this stuff is installed on about 10 square meters of floor area. And here I have something rather interesting for you, because as you can see, this is a fire extinguisher, and this little body here, this little black part, this is the heat exchanger. This is all there is needed for cooling the apartments in this building. This is, I think, on this. I think it's door 8 that has about 10 apartments. But as you can see, 10 apartments being cooled with an heat exchanger of that has the size of a fire extinguisher. There is no air conditioning or no chiller or whatever is needed, because the apartments are cooled via free cooling. Um, the on the one side there is the cold water that comes from the soil. On the other side there is the warm water that comes from the ceilings of the apartments. This little body is the heat exchanger. Yeah, here you can see all there is needed within the apartment to influence the room temperature. You can just the whole apartments are kept at about 23 degrees all year round. And you can say, I'd like to have it a little warmer or a little colder, and you can adapt the temperature in a range of about plus minus 1.5 degrees. And the top right picture, unfortunately, does not show the ventilation system. I here have now some pictures that I took with the infrared camera. As you can see, this little kitten has about 28.5 degrees and is really feeling very well within the cooled apartment. Some other impressions of an apartment. As you can see here, the scale goes from 20.6 degrees Celsius up to 24.7. The hottest points would be the light, and I think what might be shoes. But the ceilings are about 22 degrees, and also the floor has about 22 to 23 degrees. Here, this is a picture on the right side. This is a picture of a living room, and you can easily see where the Amazon Fire TV is positioned. It's right here, and it has lots of standby losses. Therefore, it's a little radiator in the living room. But also here, the ceilings have about 23 degrees, and the whole room, everything inside the room has this nice temperature compared to a traditional air conditioning, where you have like 6 degrees cold air that is injected to the room from one point. Here, the whole room has about 23 degrees, and it's really comfortable. Here you can see where the cat was sitting. Here you can also see internet modem, and a working room, and everything here, the desk, the chair, the floor, the ceiling, the wall, everything, even though the window is opened, everything has about 22 to 23 degrees. Here I opened the door to the balcony, and as you can see, the floor on the balcony, the wooden floor, had almost 60 degrees Celsius, whereas the floor inside the apartment has 23 degrees Celsius. And to give you an impression, this is the living room with a closed door. Pointing at the window, we have about 25 degrees, but as you can see here, the range of temperatures within this living room is between 21.6 and 27.7 degrees. And for comparison, I added a picture of my office. This is a picture of my office. Also pointed at the window, same temperature, same outside temperature. We have about almost 40 degrees on the window, and the range is up to 43 degrees. So the window in my office is like a very, 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 very hot infrared radiator, like about 5 square meters infrared radiator, I think. And the temperature inside my office is often far beyond 30 degrees Celsius. So this is it. This is MGG-22. I hope that I could give you an impression of what future apartment buildings could look like. We're trying to make all new buildings as innovative as MGG-22 because, as mentioned before, none of this is rocket science. And now let me thank you for your attention and your interest in the energy future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. That was so interesting. And yeah, I think the technology, how it's so simple it's fantastic. And especially how the days are getting so much warmer. I can think anyone in Vienna can attest to that. We do have a few questions on the chat, but if you are in the audience and want to join with your video and your audio and ask a question, please ask. You can request and I can accept you. So you can share it. But I am going to just go through some of the questions that were asked while the presentation was happening. So one of the first ones we have is, it says, very interesting. What do you think what do you think is needed to apply this technology in different parts of the world that face different challenges and are not all at the same stage of economic development?
Hard question. As mentioned, this is no rocket science, and it can be used everywhere around the world. Where, for example, concrete is used for building apartment complexes. For your information, this technology of thermally activating a building structure is not only linked to concrete. We also have buildings with activated wooden ceilings. So to me, I think in principle it can be used everywhere around the world, but you need to know about this technology in order to use it.
So much. I see someone is asking to join. I'm gonna accept you so you can, let's see if it works. I don't know what happened, but while that kind of figures itself, there's a few questions regarding the infrastructure. So I'll just ask them all together. So the first one is if you could explain a little bit more what the concrete core consists of. Second is the window glasses. It's a question about the window glasses. Is it one air chamber or two air chambers or low E film? Two? Okay,
Two air
perfect.
chambers, 3 glasses, 3 shades. And the concrete core is pretty simple. It's concrete and reinforcement steel. Three layers of reinforcement steel. The concrete core has a height of about 25 centimeters, starting with concrete. After 2 centimeters, a reinforcement mat. After another 8 centimeters, so in the middle zone of the ceiling, another reinforcement mat, and on this mat the plastic pipes, and then 8 centimeters of concrete, the final reinforcement mat, and then concrete. So this is how the 25 centimeters look like.
Great, thank you so much. Another question about financing. So it was asked, how are citizens getting financed?
This apartment complex is a subsidized apartment building. So about 1/3 of the 160 apartments are subsidized apartments, and citizens had to pay around 200 up to 500 euro per square meter in order to get the apartment. And if they give it back, they will get the money out again. And the next tenant has to pay this this amount. And now the how to say the payings are about 7.5 up to 8.5 euro per square meter and month. So the apartments are really cheap, and it's also worth mentioning that the apartments that are not subsidized cost about 11 euro per square meter and month.
Great. That's very affordable. That's great. Okay, I think I see Yar. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Yargalan. If you would like to ask your question, please unmute yourself.
We just saw him, but he disappeared again.
Yes. Okay, while that's going on, there's another question I see here about, okay, so we talked about the cost also. There's another structure question, is the external walls. Do you remember the thermal conductivity coefficient? This is very technical.
Yeah. It's about 0.15. About, some are a little better, some are a little higher, but it's 0.15 watt
Okay.
per meter and Kelvin.
Thank you. And sorry, okay, so there's one about cost, but more of what was the cost of the construction of the buildings?
I thought that I might mention this. The whole building, the costs of the whole building were about, so of 1 square meter, were about 1,800 euro in total,
Okay.
including the planning process, including the buying of the area, including all the construction stuff that was needed. So 1,800 euro per square meter times 12,000 square meters for the whole apartment complex.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I have a question regarding this. Do you have any kind of methodology to measure the energy efficiency of this apartment compared to other apartments in Vienna, so that you can do reporting and this kind of thing?
Yeah, we don't have a standard process to measure the energy consumption of every building, but of course we have an energy monitoring within this building. So we are very exactly monitoring how much energy is needed for this building. And after 1 year of monitoring, and as it is known, the first year is not very representative because of all the water in the concrete that has to evaporate. And but still the planned amounts of energy have almost been met. So it's rather energy efficient, and for the more technical interested people, the consumption is about 45 kilowatt hours per square meter in year for heating and hot water, including the losses.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Thank you. So Mr. Yargalan, if you want to ask your question, I think this is the last chance because we are going to have to return to the main stage for the closing words soon. So if you can. If not, I don't know if anyone else has any other questions that they want to type out. Yes, so all of the comments they're saying very interesting. Thank you so much. And someone also said, I love the herb garden idea. I also agree that's really cool that you have the different information of when you can harvest it as well. That's really, really cool. Sounds like we should go visit it when we can.
Yeah, of course. Come
Yes.
visit it. It's really nice.
Sounds great. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I think we can close out. Thank you so much again, Mr. Thomas. It was such an interesting virtual tour and presentation. I think we all learned a lot from this. So yes, if everyone wants to move to the main stage, that's where the closing words will happen. I see something else on the, yes, thanks a lot. Someone has said that I made my house with radiant heating from the floor with a heat pump and designed to couple it with a solar collector on the roof. Concrete walls, 20 centimeters with styrofoam interior. I'm around those parameters for a standalone home. So very cool.
Very cool, very cool.
Sounds great. All right, well, thank you so much everyone for joining. And thank you, Mr. Thomas, again.
Thank you for allowing me to present you the project.
No problem. Have a great day.